with apps, we've dealt with AI and what they are, but there's a fundamental bit of it that we haven't really touched on. So today, we are talking about coding and why is it important. If you have an app, you have a website, and all this AI thing we're talking about, the fundamental has to do with coding. And today, we've been joined by the Executive Director of Institute of ICT Professionals Ghana, is the person of David Gowu, and he's going to be taking us through. Nice to meet you, man.
Thanks. Nice meeting you.
This is more like a long distance relationship.
Yeah.
We'll manage. All right, so let's get into the details. We're talking about coding. I've heard a couple of times, but I don't really know. Me as a layman, tell me what coding is.
So coding is basically the process of developing all these softwares that we talk about, the apps, the video games, the websites, even sophisticated programs like, trying to send somebody to space. The programming that is done behind the scene is what we are calling now coding. In the past, it used to be called, well, it's still being called computer programming, but we just shorten it as coding.
Okay. All right. So what is involved in this?
So we have different softwares. For example, for kids, we have a software called Scratch that is used to help them to use blocks to, put blocks together, create their own games, create animations. Then we also have the ones that we use to develop or create our websites. For example, a simple website will require HTML, CSS, JavaScript, so that your images, the scripts that you write, everything will be put online. So that what is behind those websites is what we call the codes or the coding.
Okay, so there are some specific things. Yes. So the JavaScript, for instance, you mentioned and all that. There's supposed to be those kind of elements or software that puts together. Okay, so this background shows some sort of a code.
Exactly. Right. So sort of coding that is going on. So the engineers actually they write these codes.
It's written.
It's written, and you have to make sure that even the comma or the dot you don't miss it. This is what makes it interesting and sometimes very difficult and frustrating. Because you need to make sure that you are very meticulous, you are able to go through all the processes, and you are able to come up, run it, and it runs. And then, so when your website, all of a sudden, is not working, the guy goes back, checks some of the codes, and then...
You realize that some dots or comments are not correctly. All right, so in the world of ICT, coding is more like indispensable. You can do away with that.
So, there's something we call now 4IR. 4IR means Fourth Industrial Revolution. So with the Fourth Industrial Revolution, this is where we're going, or we are here now. And the basis is like trying to learn, engineering. You have to learn mathematics. Without mathematics, you can't do engineering. So without coding, you can't really participate in the Fourth Industrial Revolution. You really need to understand, if you're talking about AI, if you're talking about data science, if you're talking about Internet of Things, they are all codes that are behind apps. Today we are in the world of apps. Everybody developing apps, but what goes behind those apps? When you take Facebook, there are several programming languages behind Facebook. When you take WhatsApp, when you upload a picture. Now, what we want our children to do, or want young people to do, is to also understand how to develop these things, so that in our system here, we can have young people who can develop some of the apps that are required for our local setting. So that is very, very important.
Okay, so in that venture, I'm sure IIPGH have taken a lot of initiatives in that regard.
We have.
And in the future, what will this coding enable us do beyond? Let's come here, Ghana. What have you been doing so far in pushing this coding, learning into the system or the world of ICT?
So, first, we want our students or our young people in Ghana to have the same skill, like anybody that you find in India, in China, in US, in UK. We want them to also develop that hands-on skill to be employable, to be competitive, to be able to work with any other person in the world. This is the aim, and this is our target. By 2030, we should have not less than 50% of Ghanaian children to also have the skill and the confidence to be able to get into the place of work and be able to develop some of these things. Most businesses today, if they need an IT guy, they go to India. Why not Ghana? it's also possible for us to have them. So we've started this program. We've been running it in communities. This vacation, we're running it in 10 centers in Accra alone and 1 in Takrady. Basically trying to help people to understand.
So you say undergraduates should be taught programming just as they are taught writing the first year composition courses.
Absolutely.
I see.
Yeah.
All right, then we have another one that says that coding also helps children to learn mathematical and computational ideas. They're also learning strategies for solving problems, designing projects, and communicating ideas. And then there's another that says that coding is one of the key skills for the future of work. We must encourage our children to get conversant with it, to understand how it works, no matter what career path they
so
opt.
On this, Madame Lucy Quist is the former CEO of Airtel. She's now the MD of Morgan Stanley. Yeah. So she's been advocating for this for a very long time now. Basically because if we don't do this, you see, we will get into a point where our graduates cannot get a job. This year, we have 100,000 graduates, but statistics shows that only 80% will get a job. Only 20% will get a job. 80% will not. Why are they not getting the job? We must train our people to be employable across the globe so that they will not only find jobs in Ghana, they can be in Ghana and still find jobs that can be done elsewhere. And that is the power of the internet. That's the power of technology. That's the power of coding.
Okay, we had a discussion earlier on AI here, and we gathered that even now we are in the narrow AI usage. Yeah. In 2040, we are getting into the super AI. That has the positives and the negatives. It looks like somehow, some jobs are being taken over by artificial intelligence. With this coding and you claiming it's going to help youth get jobs, it looks like it doesn't balance.
It's like if you are not in the room, you will not get part of the cake.
Okay.
So if we are in a, let's say there's a party going on here. If you're not in, you're not going to take part in the party. Yeah. So if you don't know this, you're not going to get into the employment. That is the job loss issue. So the banks will have that because banks will close their branches and they will need more people at the back office because they'll be operating with apps. And they will still need people to develop these apps, to do analysis, to see how people are withdrawing money and putting in money. They will need a lot of people at the back office. They will not need people anymore at the front office where you come, you have a tailor that will give you cash. So the job is changing. So we need to now get our people to learn this to be able to remain in jobs. This is where the job loss issue is. So it's rather about retooling than job losses.
Okay. All right. So let's get into, I think I have a video that we'll probably play later on to see how the kids are also getting into it. And then, so we'll get into that in a bit. So in the future, we're looking at coding as being the basic thing for most, been getting employment and all that. And what would it look like? Let's say about 100,000 people that you mentioned are all into ICT.
Yeah, so the thing is, India is 1.2 or 1.3 billion people.
Yes.
We are only 13 million people. So even if we train everybody in Ghana, we will still be able to get them jobs beyond the borders of our country. This should be our target. Our target should not be to train people to get employment only in Ghana. The countries are positioning themselves to be, contributing to the global workforce. China is producing, manufacturing. India is producing human resource. Philippines is producing what we call call centers, where sometimes you make calls and someone receives the calls from Philippines. Now, what are we doing in Africa? We are 1.2 billion people, Ghana included. We need to start also preparing ourselves and positioning ourselves. So Google has an AI center here in Ghana, right? So how do we get a lot of these companies to come here? We need to train our people to have the skill. The skill is what drives multinational companies to come to your country. Okay,
you've been mentioning Indian a couple of times. Are we tapping into the ideas in terms of teaching the kids here in Ghana?
Yeah, we are tapping into the ideas. For example, even learning, there's an Indian company that has developed an AI software called Squirrel. And this AI software is helping kids to be able to learn on their own.
Okay.
So if we have issues with having enough teachers to teach kids, we should be able to develop technologies that kids can use to learn.
Okay. All right. So the future obviously looks bright with regards to the kids joining in. So our children should be taught how to program the computer rather than being programmed by the computer through computer-aided learning, and which your outfit is already doing. So let's touch briefly on your outfit and tell us what exactly you are into and all that. So, but I have a little video to show you about coding. So let's take a look at the video and then we'll continue with the conversation.
Applications and its use.
My name is David Go, the Executive Director of Institute of ICT Professionals Ghana. Our organization is an association of professionals, students, startups, and other businesses in ICT industry. Our aim is to bring together all these groups of people and build capacity in the ICT industry. We are particularly interested in emerging technologies. Hence, we started the Coding for Kids program. The coding program is to help young people appreciate ICT, to start learning new and emerging technologies, to help them to be innovative, to help them to build interest in computer programming.
The organization aims at using its platform to equip professionals and students with skills in emerging technologies needed for entrepreneurship and employment in today's fast-moving technological world. In addition, use the expertise at its disposal to advise governments and other stakeholders on best practices and public policies that would enable the use of ICT in achieving the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. The Institute has 4 major divisions: professional membership, professional services, academy, and foundation. IIPGH Academy is the Learning and Skill Development Division of the Institute of ICT Professionals Ghana. The Academy forms partnership with organizations in order to deliver training programs to both members and non-members of the Institute.
Last vacation, the Institute decided that we should take this program to Takwa, a community which is a mining community where we want to help young people to use technology rather than going into mining or going into what we popularly call galamsey. So we contacted the University of Mines and Technology, and we used their computer lab together with the computer science department. We trained 35 young people in programming. Some of these students were not able to use a computer before we started, but by the time we completed the program, they were able to design simple websites, and the young ones were able to design simple games. And we believe that if we put in more effort and get more young people in the communities and introduce them to computer programming, it will change their mindset.
All right, so that was the Executive Director of Institute of Professional ICT, or ICT Professionals here in Ghana, David Gowu, who is joining me here. We're talking about coding, and the kids also getting involved in that. They're traveling over Ghana, also teaching people how to code, and hoping that with the coding, new apps, the AI, the world of AI would develop here in Ghana. So that is more important. And of course, as I said, if you're not part of the party, of course, you don't get to enjoy the goodies in there as well. So it's been great having a conversation, but let's know the future of coding, and then let us know basically what you're also pushing, as you've said already. Maybe you have some few things to add to.
So the government of Ghana has recognized this as an important thing to do.
Okay.
So there's a new curriculum that is coming in September, and the government is
after dropping the social studies.
Yes, so the government is pushing coding into that.
Okay.
But there is a problem because the current tutors we have, they don't have the skill to teach the coding because it's a practical-based thing.
Okay.
And we will need professionals to support them, to give them training, and also to support them in transferring knowledge to young people. So what we're doing is to start a conversation by helping other organizations build up skill, train other tutors. We call train the trainers model, where we train tutors to train other people and also train people in the community.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So just in case you didn't know anything about coding, but you've been using apps, you've been using websites, you've been having access to a lot of things in the world of ICT. Today, I'm thinking that you've learned a thing or two about coding, and even young kids as low as 9 years, even knowing what to do with JavaScript and all that. Well, the world is moving, and if you're not moving, I'm sorry, I don't know where you will be. So thank you very much, Diego, Executive Director of Institute of Institute of ICT Professional Ghana. They join us here for the conversation on Tech Talk. God willing, in the coming days, we'll be having them more often talking about different aspects of ICT and technology here in Ghana and how we can put all hands on deck to help move our nation to another level. All right, thank you again for joining us. God willing, next week, we'll bring another episode of Tech Talk. Now handing you back to Kokwe to continue with the show.
All right, Diego. Nice chat there. And I think you're right. From what both of you were discussing, we're already in the future. We need to, what do you call it, the fourth industrial revolution? I love that term. It just goes to show how far the world has come and what is considered revolutionary now. And we need to evolve beyond, you know, the typical things we think about when we talk about industrialization. Now IT is taking over the world. Where do we fit in that whole plan? Where do we fit, okay? So a lot of our kids are learning a few of these things in schools now. There are lots of programs out there. So if you have a chance, maybe for your child to start taking some coding lessons, I think it's a good idea, yeah, because the future, that's the way they're going. And artificial intelligence is indeed taking over. So yeah, it's a good thing for us to be part and parcel of that takeover or that progression in the world. Hashtag Quest Ahead start and answer our question on social media. Let us know who you think the African Dancehall King is. And we'll see what those responses are. Diego will be reading your messages later on. Muftau is standing by. He's going to be bringing us Prime Sports. He has an issue with the fact that